to my yang to my yang to see. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me. Cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I feed on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior, this is my song. I am a warrior and this is my song. I'm basking the glow of the rising war, lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore.
I read you Lima Charlie, loud and clear.
And here we go, episode 12 of Lima Charlie. And we have on tonight, Mitchell Taco Bell, the guy you heard at the end of that opening, reading us Lima Charlie, sitting in his Humvee on that old school radio. Taco, great to have you on this Taco Tuesday.
Dude, I absolutely love your intro. I've had the same intro for the last 5 years, only we changed the songs because keep getting hit with copyright stuff, and I got to deal with that. But I am going to change it now. I've got so many pictures from Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm going to change it. You've actually pushed me over the edge. I looked at that. I don't know how you get the rights for that song. I love that song, the Warrior song, Marine Corps edition. Is
that's
on
from
my
Mr. Wolf.
podcast.
That's from Mr. Wolf. He got me that. His buddy is the one that made that song.
No way.
Yeah, and he gave us full rights, and it's such a fitting song. So
It is
He brought that-
absolutely that.
Yeah. and the
I don't
picture,
know if they-
in our regular show, Stu, and then we have a lot of pictures of our past guests, lots of pictures of me and Toby, and just different guests we've had on. But this one, since it's about getting these stories from downrange, I just a lot of those pictures are mine. Not all of them. Some I just went out and got on the open. So just different ones.
Right.
Ones I've had in my collection. Some are mine, some aren't. But I just wanted to try to get a wide a sampling as I could, and hopefully get a little bit of every service. So,
Yeah. I thought you did a great job. I love the intro. I love the opening. Brought back a lot of memories as I was watching.
yeah, thanks. Oh, I had the Lav in there, so I had that. I had a couple planes. Got a AC-130. You saw some snow. That was Afghanistan.
Yep.
Wasn't much of that in Iraq, but I had the lady with the voting with the purple finger. I was really important to get that one in there. I mean.
And the
iconic
kids, the
photos.
kids all could be cloned. They all look the same in Afghanistan. All those kids.
Yep. Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to make it fast. I didn't want to have a 5-minute intro. So it does roll through quick, but I had to give at least enough where people pay attention and can see something. But yeah, it's that's what we play every week. I'm really happy with how. I'm glad you like it. That's
You know what? See if he'll get me the rights to the Marine Corps version. That's all I want. I want the rights to the Marine Corps one, Warrior song, Marine Corps
one?
edition.
There's
I want that. I'm going to change my intro to my podcast, Tall Tales with Taco Bell, and that's all I beg for my birthday coming up. 60 years old. That's all I ask for.
There we go.
I like
Okay,
that.
I'll talk to Wolf. Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm a big fan of your show. I mean, you've turned me onto this platform that we use. You run such a, I mean, Toby and I still call ourselves Bush League, but I mean, you run such a professional looking show. I mean, you really run a good one. You have 5-6 guests on at once. I mean,
Dude,
yeah,
for the podcast, first of all, when I send out stuff to somebody and I want to get them on, I'm like, look, man, I don't advertise. I don't have commercials. It's strictly a hobby. I just like talking to folks and hearing their story, and then tell them sometimes it evokes stories that come to mind. And I feel bad because somebody wrote, hey man, you need to shut the hell up and let your guests talk. And I'm like, yeah,
make everyone happy. We get feedback like that every once in a while. It's sometimes we have guests that just run on, which are my favorite. All right, I can spin them up at the top of an hour and be like, I mean, I could just, if I put a snapshot of myself, I could walk away because in 50 minutes they're still going. Those are my best.
Oh yeah,
as you know,
and some of those are great stories as well.
Yeah,
it's really funny because a buddy of mine was on Joe Rogan, and I asked him, I go, when you were on Joe Rogan, did he, the night before, because he went out to dinner with him, went to the comedy club, the Mothership.
Right.
I
Right.
said, did you guys discuss what you were going to talk about? And he goes, no, not at all. He never talked about, it's Dave Fravor, the guy that, Sex Fravor, the guy that chased the UFO, the Tic
Mhm.
Tac, and he chased it with his F-18.
Right.
Dave said, no, we never talked about the show. And it literally, this is during COVID. I showed up next morning. My wife was outside the studio watching. I had to go take a COVID test. And I go and I sit down, and it was me and Jamie. And then Joe walked in through the other door, sat down. That was it. Boom, started talking. So I've always wanted to make sure that, my podcast, when I'm talking, there's no I don't have a list of questions that I need to talk to the person about. Just the conversation, the flow.
Yeah.
That's why I like long form. Most of my podcasts are about an hour and a half. Long form, you can let the other person talk, or you guys can interject back and forth. But that's what Joe does, and I think that's a
His
fantastic.
goes so long. It's hard for me to watch them. People like, did you watch the latest Rogan? I'm like, I try to watch him, Theo Vaughn, unsubscribe, a number of ones I watch, but I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't have 3 hours. I can just sit down and watch him. I mean, it's during the campaign I did. I wanted to watch the Trump one just like I did with Theo Vaughn and Andrew
yeah.
Scheer. I mean, all great ones. I literally could just watch those all day. They put out such great content, but to sit down and watch 3 hours of Rogan is just tough. It's
Well, I space it out. So I walk every morning for an hour, and I put the Bose noise canceling in, and I go walking, and it just an hour just disappears. 3 miles goes by, and I don't even know I did it.
I mean, our good buddy Belvia is on 4 hours a day, and I barely, I've been on there many times with him hosting and stuff too. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'll if I could hear him, listen to him for a hour or two out of a whole week. It's just I'm on calls and meetings and stuff, so I catch most of his stuff on podcasts after the fact because I don't. I'm on too many meetings. I can't listen to his 4 hours, and
Yeah.
I just like to listen, especially when he gets into good content. But yeah, no, man, it's great having you on. You put together a great show, and you run yours a lot like ours. I mean, we maybe sometimes I'll have some questions if I have a really interesting guest, like someone that's pretty news generating and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We've got some pretty big pop, but most time it's just pretty free flow, talking about whatever's happening, usually in their
Do
life, whatever they're
you,
pushing.
you know what? I'll see something on Facebook, and I'll go, you know what? That's an interesting person. I'll see if I can reach out to him and get him. You know who I want right now? It's insane. I want the Buckeye girl, the Ohio State girl, and they have this. It's like a meme, little video. It says, "How I Met Your Mother," and you see this dude with a Burger King, you know, and he's standing up, and it's a big party, outdoor party somewhere, and the dude filming is waving, and the guy with the Burger King thing has a 12-pack of beer, and he tosses a beer to this guy. And as you watch the beer fly over, all of a sudden this girl's hand reaches up like this and catches the beer sideways and then hands it to the guy, and she's just the most beautiful little brunette, just kind of like, "Hey, how you doing?" and gives him the beer. I'm like, I looked up and I go, I want to talk to that girl because you know that is just the coolest video that she stole the beer from this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it takes you back when you watch it to the 80s for me, to college fraternity parties, outdoor fraternity parties and things
Right.
like that. So I've submitted some stuff. I tracked her down and I've sent some stuff to her, and I'm like, I really want to do an interview with you. And it has nothing to do with my normal podcast, but I find that video so cool and so interesting that I want to talk to her. And it's like, hey, you ought to talk to this guy. And I go, it's who I want to talk to. It's who I find interesting or that interests me
Right.
that I want to shoot the bull with. I mean,
You need a
if it's
producer. We have Rob, the unpaid producer. He does a lot of he schedules a lot of, but Rob is phenomenal. He tracks people down. We'll see a story or see something, and
Yeah.
we'll be like, Rob, you think we can find? He's like, let me find him. And he'd be like, I reached out, I contacted his, he contacted. And so Rob he's the best because he tracks people down. He lines them up. We've had guests after guests the last 6-7 weeks that Rob has lined all of them up. I'm just like, Rob, who's this week? And he's like, here's the bio, here's the background. I'm like, cool. I mean,
Damn, how do I hire Rob? Work for me.
he's unpaid, so it does it works. He just does it for the love of it, I guess. But yeah, he's it's when CJ and I were doing the show back on UServe, and we had Marcus, we've had
Yeah.
producers, even Wendy produced for. I mean, it's when you got full-time jobs and you got everything going on, it's, as you know, it's hard to track down, contact, work guests, it's a lot of time to do an hour show or an hour and a half show. It helps when you can spread the wealth.
Yeah, yeah. No kidding. I wish. I mean, I'm a one-man band. I just bought a Sony A7 camera, so I got a new camera system. Still got the old, stuff behind me, but I'm just sitting there going, this is kind of fun. But I wish I had somebody that could call. Say, hi, I'm calling on behalf of Tall Tales with Taco Bell. It's a podcast that make you sound more official,
Right. See, what you need is the dual camera, right? That's what you got to have. You got to be able to switch up, and that's what Rogan does, right? You switch cameras like this, and you got to have the stuff that just brings you from one view to another view, and just takes you right there. See, that's you get a couple.
You have to teach me that trick because I do have.
I'll show you after we're done. After we're done with this episode, we'll keep talking. I'll give you some tips on some good free software I use for that. It's good stuff. You got to get to, but your camera's good. Anyways, let's get going on this. Lima Charlie, episode 12. You're the voice at the start of the intro, and so I knew I've been wanting to get you on. So, as with every episode, first thing we want to do is just kind of cover when you joined, why you joined, what was your motivator to get into the job that you did? Like, how did that all come about? How did you get into the military?
Okay.
Was it jail or military? Was it running from a shotgun wedding?
No. It was 6 years old. I had my first ride on a commercial airliner. In 1971, there were really no terrorists. My aunt was a gate agent for a major airline, and she was escorting my sister and I back from DCA to Knoxville to go spend the summer on my grandparents' farm while my parents went to Europe for 30 days. So when we get on the airplane, you remember Airplane, the movie Airplane?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was just like that. Hey, this little boy wants to come up and say hello, hi, hey, Johnny, how are you? You ever seen a grown man naked?
Yeah.
You like Turkish
Been in
prisons?
Turkish prison? Yes.
Yeah, it literally, she goes, hey, you want to sit up in the cockpit? And I'm like, hey, yeah. And it was raining in DC, and we took off and climbed up in the 727. I'm in the jump seat. It was the coolest thing ever because it's rain and beating on the windshield. And then all of a sudden you pop out through the top and you're looking out. It's like an ocean of clouds and there's the sun. And I thought, this is so cool. Pilots get to see the sun when normal people on the ground don't. I mean, it's raining down there at home. I thought, this is cool. When I grow up, I want to be a pilot. So fast forward 7th grade, 8th grade. It was always good for a free hamburger because I would go down to the airport, take the subway in Arlington to National, get past the Hare Krishnas, go through security, simple wave of a wand, and then I would go to the restaurant there at National Airport, and I would wait around for a airline crew to walk in, and then I would stalk them, and then I'd walk up to the captain and go, hi, sir, how you doing? My name is Mitch Bell. I'm a 7th grader at Swanson Junior High. I want to be an airline pilot. Can I interview you and your crew? And they're like, oh, sure, kid, grab a seat. You hungry? You want a hamburger? I'm like, yeah, sure, okay. Hamburger, fries, Coke, get a free deal. Go hang out with the guys. So that's basically what I did. And I kind of built a portfolio diagram for myself to go, okay, I need to do this, and this. And then fast forward, college, I was 19 years old. I was in Army ROTC, and the CO pulls me in. I wasn't scholarship. I was a walk-on. And he goes, Mitch, you've taken a year and a half of ROTC. The max you can take is 2 years.
Yep.
You need to apply for a side load scholarship. And what do you want to do? And I go, I want to be a pilot. He goes, yeah, we've only had one guy in the unit get a flight slot, and they're medevac guys. I'm like, I really want to be a pilot. Well, what do you think about being a cannon cocker? And I'm like, sir, I really want to be a pilot. Well, that may not work out for you. And I go, okay. And kind of depressed, walked out of the CO's office. I'm going across campus, and I run into a fraternity brother of mine. And he goes, hey, my officer selection officer for the Marine Corps is here. You ought to come talk to him if you want to be a pilot. And I go, why? I don't understand what the Marine Corps have to do with aviation. And so I get talked into going to talk to my the captain, and he's got all these pictures behind him on a wall. You've got C-130s and A4s and F4s and A6s and EA-6Bs, a Harrier, F-18s, CH-53, 46, Cobra, Whiskey. I mean, they've got everything up on the wall. And I go, the Marines have airplanes? And OSO's like, yeah, we got our own Air Force, kid. And here's the funny thing. My OSO was Dave Berger, General Berger, and he ended up retiring as a commandant of the Marine Corps. So that was my OSO. And he's an infantry guy, so he doesn't know jack shit about aviation, except, yeah, I rode in the back of that. That's a CH-46. I rode in the back of that, and that was a CH-53 Echo or Delta. And I always thought, yeah, that's kind of funny. And so that's basically it. I took the aviation test, passed it by the skin of my teeth, and that was February of 1986. So fast forward a few months, this little known movie came out called Top Gun in May of 86. Mm-hmm. And when I saw my OSO again in the fall, he goes, you know what, Bill, you're lucky as shit. I'm like, what's that, sir? And he goes, that movie Top Gun came out, and I'm turning away, 3.8 double E engineering majors from Virginia Tech. Your sorry ass 2.5 GPA history major, you'd be a motor T officer. And I'm like, you're not even good enough for infantry. I'm laughing. I'm like, oh, well, better lucky than good any day, sir. So that's how I ended up doing it. I took the aviation test, got a guaranteed flight contract, and for those who don't know about this, the Marine Corps is the only branch that has a guaranteed flight contract. Now, what they guarantee is you the chance to go to Pensacola, but not that you're going to get your wings. What they don't tell you is that maybe 2 out of 10 actually make it through the wickets and succeed and get their wings. And
so what happens to those that don't? Where are the needs of the Marine Corps?
Yeah. You could be a commo, infantry guy, supply. Yeah.
That's usually.
But I mean, actually, if you take it all the way back, I get an air contract, and 10 of us got air contracts in 1986. 2 of those guys probably don't make it through OCS juniors. 2 guys don't make it through OCS seniors. 2 guys lose their eyesight for the final physical. Maybe somebody doesn't, maybe they got a job at Xerox and they decide they're going to sell copy machines. So, I mean, at the end, by the time you go through training, flight school, it's about 2 out of 10 get their wings.
So, and what did you get to, what you flew, or does the Marine Corps pick that?
3 things, based off 3 things.
Okay. Did you make
it's based off. There were 15 of us sitting in a room. The guy comes in, he goes, your selection's based off of 3 criteria. It's based off of your grades, needs of the Marine Corps, and what you want.
And
And that's how we. I mean, there are 15 of us. Andy was number one. He picked jets. Bob was number two. He wanted to fly Cobras and SWAC people and Cobras. And I was number three. And I had put props, jets, helos, and I got props. And the rest of the guys, no matter what they put, got helos. But I'm telling you, any flying in the military is phenomenal.
so when you say
Helicopter,
prop,
jets,
that would,
props.
obviously that's C-130, some flavor of
C-130s.
that. What else did the Marine Corps have? Anything else that was props?
No,
Small tail birds or anything like that? Nothing like that.
no,
So,
we got rid of OV-10s.
yeah.
Stations have King Airs, but those are normally helo guys who get those jobs later on.
I
After
wonder
a
what
couple
an
tours.
Osprey's considered. Which one does that fall under?
Osprey's kind of a weird deal. Osprey guys are both fast forward, like a fixed wing, and also
Rotor.
helicopter,
Right.
rotor.
So, so you picked that. You got your pick as number 3. And
Yeah.
and now, did you fly? What kind of did you fly? Different variants of C-130, or did you fly a certain one the whole time?
I am so sorry, my wife
That's all right.
calling me.
That's all right.
You know how it is. If I don't answer,
Yeah. She's like, "What? You're recording another show? It's not the time."
yeah. Hey, hold on one second. Let me do this. Ask me another question. Why I ask my wife and say, yes, I'm alive. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Ask me a
So,
question while you're sitting
yeah.
there talking, or you come up with some questions.
Nope. So yeah. So the first one is did you fly the same type of C-130? Like, did you try find the whole time, or did you get to pick, or did they, is part of your career, do you bounce around from like an AC-130 to a regular hauler to refuel? I mean, kind of what type of C-130?
I flew. We started out. I flew Fs and Rs, which are 62 models, and we're a KC-130, so we do aerial refueling.
Okay, it is refueler.
Yeah, so we have 4 pods on the wing. We have the outer pods have a big reel in it, and a hose comes out, and we can refuel it depending on what basket they have, a jet or a helicopter, like a H-60 or a CH-53 Echo,
Right.
the big one, or jets. So we refuel jets and cargo. So I would fly around the world, and we'd go drop cargo off. I mean, you would take off for a week, and you might go Cherry Point to Greenland to Iceland to Keflavik, down to Bodø, Norway, Mildenhall, Rota, Spain, lodges in the Azores, Bermuda, and home. So you could do all these because there are exercises going on all around the world
Right.
or around anywhere, and spend 30 days in Turkey, come back, spend 2 weeks up in Iceland watching the Northern Lights dance across the sky, lodges doing the bullfights, Rota, Spain, drinking beer and eating swordfish on the beach, watching all the topless European girls.
So when you're doing fuel, is the main fuselage, the main cargo area, filled with a big bladder, or does it also haul in cargo the same time you're doing fueling operations? Or those
So we can actually do both.
you can do both. Okay.
Yeah, because we have these big pods in between number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 that hold fuel.
Okay.
So we could have cargo inside, and then thousands of gallons in between these 2 pods. Or they put this big giant atom bomb looking thing in the back of the airplane,
Right.
and it would sit in the middle. That thing filled full of fuel, you could refuel like an entire squadron.
Yeah. I know some, like the KC-130s, KC-135s, like the jet ones, that they would refuel with. I know some of those were pretty full, like they had big bladders in them, like when they were flying over Afghanistan or Iraq, and they were just refueling all the time.
Yeah, they have this big giant tank. I mean, literally, it looks like an atom bomb. And the great thing about it is it weighed so much with the gas in it that I would, as long as you're not claustrophobic, I would get bubble wrap from the guys down there. You can get a big thing of bubble wrap and cut a 6-foot strip of it. And I would lay the bubble wrap underneath the tank, and I'd put a poncho liner on it, and then I would crawl underneath the tank, and the bottom of the tank was right here by your face. But the weight of that dampened out the vibrations of the C-130,
Hmm.
and nobody was walking over top of you because you're
Right.
underneath there. So it was really a nice place to sleep when you had those big things in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I put a hammock in the back with a sleeping bag, and I would sleep back there
Yeah.
on breaks.
So, and how long were you in active duty the whole time, or did you active?
No, I did 29 years total. Joined in '86. I retired in 2015. Just got my first paycheck. Really nice. I did 10 years active duty, 88, commissioned in 88, and got out in 98. So I did 10 years active duty straight. And then the day I got out, I was hired by my airline.
Right.
But I stayed in the reserves.
Okay. I knew you were in the reserve. I wasn't sure. I thought you probably had active time too. Okay.
Yeah.
And you did the same job in both active and reserve component. Flew.
No, actually, in the reserves, I did coloring books and some things to stay active. And then 9/11 happened, and one of my squadron mates was killed in 9/11. He was Mike Horrocks. He was a co-pilot on United 175, hit the South Tower. And that kind of got me back in. Now, my wife is not a military wife. So when I married her, I was out, but I was still a Marine, but she wasn't, with me when I was a young lieutenant or anything like that.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I mean, when I went to Iraq, somebody was talking to her and said, so what is your husband? What rank is your husband? She's like, officer, I think. I mean, she didn't have a clue. She pulled out her ID. Oh, he's a major,
Right.
and it worked out. It worked out really well that, her parents were right down the street. So having her folks and her sister and her brother so close helped when I was deployed, because
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, she just wasn't used to it.
So when you after 9/11 it kicked on. So did you get back into getting busy? I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did. I was on
like-
recruiting duty at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had done 3 years recruiting duty, flying college kids around. So I give them airplane rides. It was the greatest job in the country. I mean, I would show up. I'd fly about 6 hours a day. I had my pickle suit on, the flight suit, and I went through Xerox professional selling skills course with all the recruiters up at Leesburg, Virginia. So the kids all thought I was just some fleet guy who just showed up with this nice twin engine airplane and take them for a ride, not realizing I was also on the dark side. So I'd be like, oh, really? He told you that? Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. So Billy, what do you think about that? And you'd work all the selling skills to get the guy in there, so you like Top Gun? Oh yeah, flying in the fleet's just like Top Gun. Lie.
We play volleyball with our shirts off like every Saturday, and
Oh yeah, I'm such a stud, man. Yeah, man. No, it was great. It was the best 3 years of my life, and then I wanted to get back in, but my squadron was the reserve squadron was deployed, and they did Afghanistan right away, then Iraq. So I wasn't current in a C-130, so it was very difficult to try to get back in to go to the war. So what my wife didn't know at the time, I was in San Diego with a bunch of school teachers, taking them out for an educational visit, go see boot camp and whatnot. And I met this guy at graduation. I said, what do you do? And he goes, oh, I'm the reserve manpower guy. I go, what is that? And he goes, I assign all the manpower BICs that we have, all the openings, and plug reservists into these jobs. Really? So like if I want to go to Iraq and volunteer to go to Iraq. You could hook me up with a job. And he goes, yeah. I'm like, give me your card. Gave me his card, and I said, look, man, here's the deal, though. The orders have to say involuntarily recalled.
That's right.
Because if my wife finds out with an 18-month-old kid and she's pregnant now that I've fucking volunteered, excuse my French, to go over there, I'm toast. He's like, don't worry, the orders will be involuntarily recalled. I'm like, good, check. Well, I'm emailing back and forth with this guy, and I already told my wife, hey, I got picked. I'm going to be going to Iraq. So I'm emailing this guy, and he wanted me to take some job in Tampa to be the midnight watch officer in Tampa. And he was trying to sell it. He goes, oh man, it's great. You'll be on the beach during the day. You work in the whatever, the jock at night, blah, blah, blah. And I go, no, you don't understand. You ever see Patton? I don't want to sit there and tell my great grandkids, what did you do during the Great War, Daddy? Well, Grandpa, I sat on the beach in Tampa, and made PowerPoints for some, special forces general. No, I want to be in Iraq with Marines. I don't want any purple hat crap. And I wrote that in an email, and the email was on my fucking frigging screen. And I went to go use the head, and my wife came in and get a stamp out of my desk. And there's the email. So what do you think she sees? Hey, jackass, I volunteered for this crap. So I want this, or this. I don't want any purple hat crap in Iraq at Baghdad. I don't want Tampa. I want this. And yeah, we had a big come to Jesus. That was tough. But I have to say, I have absolutely the best spouse, wife in the world. So she let me go.
She let you go.
Because I tried to tell her, and you feel the same way. I know you do. It's like, hey, honey, I trained for 10 years really hard to go to war, right? That was my job, to go to war. Turn the light switch on, turn the light switch off, turn the light switch on, go to war. That was my job. Refuel, take cargo. That was my job. As trivial as that is, that's all I'm trained to do. And what I feel like is I feel like a horse that trained for the Kentucky Derby and just ran circles. And then they said, okay, here you go. Go over there and run in that field over there. And you watch your buddies over there getting into the trailers and going to the Kentucky Derby. I go, that's not fair. I mean, I've got to do it. And she let me do it. Now, in hindsight, looking back on my selfish motivations, would I do it again? Yeah, but now I look back and I look at all the guys that I served with and people that I lost and friends that are wounded and injured, and I sit there and go, now looking back on our debacle of a exit from Afghanistan, was that worth it? We were just rearranging the deck chairs for 20 years on the Titanic. It was still sinking. I don't know, man. It really bothers me sometimes, but it's not so much the policy. I mean, would I do it again? Yes, in a heartbeat, only for the guys, just to be with the guys. There's a certain bond and camaraderie that you get with being with folks that you can't put a price tag on that. 20 years later, as a matter of fact, this August of 05 was 20 years. I went over to Iraq and worked as assistant air boss. Say the air boss ran the airport at Al Taqaddum in Iraq with a bunch of great Marines, staff sergeants, corporals, lance corporals, all the Marines from the MWSS that took care of the ECPs and all the, I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. Winning lotto ticket? Nah. Being with the guys, they always, it's kind of tough sometimes. I was talking to one of my Marines just the other day, and he said, he was like, he said, Marines are not normal. But Aaron goes, they're not normal, but my kind of normal, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
So
think
same with the Army.
yeah,
Army guys may not be normal to other people, but they're my kind of normal.
they're normal
And
to other military for sure, and really of any branch, right?
yeah,
You see it like many. I mean, military folks just gravitate to each other. They have the same, for the most part, the same slang, the same acronyms, and they can just get each other. So without a doubt.
yeah.
So you deployed to Iraq. So you've got an Iraq deployment and an Afghanistan deployment. Is just
Yeah.
is that what you got?
Yeah, I did actually I went over twice to Afghanistan. The second time was 30 days. It
Okay.
was a prison corrections deal. Kind of
Yep.
crazy deal. But when I went over to Afghanistan, I got to do the Afghan National Police liaison officer. So I lived at the embassy, which was bizarre. I lived in what they call the cafe, compound across from embassy cafe. Cute. I worked at Camp Eggers, which was about a 20-minute drive from my office, and I flew around with different people. We had policemen from around the world, Australia, England,
Yep.
Germany, and we would go out and work with the Afghan police.
You
So
were there after I was, I think. Weren't you there 08, 09, or 07?
yeah, 08. I was there 08, and then I went back 09 just in May of 09 for 30 days doing prison corrections, and it was a 2-star general. He's up for his 3rd star. He got tasked by Obama to go over, and um, this guy was really incredible guy. He could read Arabic, speak Arabic, read Arabic,
Wow.
and he would sit across from a prisoner, and he would go, why, General Stone? He would say, why did you try to kill me? And the guy would say, in the Quran, it says to kill all infidel. And he goes, here's the Quran. And he slided over to him and go, show me where it says
Most
to
can't
kill
read.
infidels,
Yeah.
to kill Americans. And of course, the guy couldn't read. So General Stone had this deal, very successful in Iraq. He would say, look, I'll tell you what, Muhammad, if you take reading classes and you learn how to read and you come back 6 months from now and you can read, I'll show you a passage in the Quran. You read it to me, I'll give you three passages. You read it, I will release you. No, you won't. Yeah, I will. But you have to do one other thing. You either have to learn to be a baker, rudimentary veterinarian, work on goats, not screw them, but work on them, or a brick maker, how to do a kiln and make bricks for houses and stuff that they did. He goes, you learn one of those 3 trades and learn to read, I will release you. And he was to his word, man, because these guys were the biggest asset the Allies had, because they were going back going, this is bullshit. The Imam told me that the Quran says to kill all Americans. I've read the Quran. It doesn't say anything in there about that.
Most don't realize that most Muslims, real diehard, they like the Quran is translated in a lot of languages. They only feel the real Quran is the one that is truly in Arabic. But like you say, even in Afghanistan, they may be posh, they may speak Pashto or Dari or whatever, but they can't read, and they surely can't read Arabic. So all they do is
Yeah.
believe that big blue loudspeaker says to them, and it said, excuse me, it says, yeah, the Americans are going to come murder your kids and rape your wives and blah blah blah, and this you got to kill them. They don't know any different. That's all they hear. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. But I've read big parts of the Quran when I was there, but they don't even consider that real. They only the Arabic one, but I don't know what percentage, but it is probably single digit, barely double digit in all of Afghanistan that could actually read Arabic. It is very, very small.
Very, very small. I mean, people ask about that, and I go, they're not stupid people by any stretch of the imagination. They could outsell the best, vacuum cleaner guy that could sell you a vacuum cleaner, and you got a dirt floor. They could beat anybody. It's just they can't read.
Yeah, they're uneducated. That's it. But
Yeah, It's just the
Otherwise,
education portion of it.
you'd go to the bazaar and they'd be like, my friend, General, would you like to buy? Yes, they're like, my friend, my buddy. Oh, they would see me, it'd be like Sergeant Major. Oh, Sergeant Major, you're my big friend. I'm like, dude, I'm not Sergeant Major. Oh, you Sergeant Major to me. And I'd be like,
Oh,
yeah, we were good.
I love those guys. I would go down. I learned I would take about 6 bottles of water with me, and I would start talking to the guy, and I'd pull a bottle of water out, and I would take a drink of it, and then I look at him, and I would reach in my bag and hand him a bottle of water. And as soon as I handed him a bottle of water, it was like ice, icebreaker. Oh, and he would drink the water, and then we'd sit there talk, and he would try to sell me, and I was always into the bench-made knives and things like that. But then what I would do is I'd get the guy down on the price for the bench-made knives, which were, probably made, one for the company, two for the company, one for me, go sell in Afghanistan. And then I'd walk down and I'd find this other guy selling the bench-made knives, and I would talk to him, and then I would look back at the other guy and wave and smile and show him this and go, $5 a knife. And that guy, had originally told me, like $8 a knife. And this guy, I would tell him, yeah, I'd go back and go, hey, he's going to sell me those knives for $5 a piece. You sell them to me for $4 a piece, and we got a deal. I'll buy 20 of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Oh, I don't like him. He's no good. I'm like, yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'll buy him from you for $4 a piece. So I haggle with them. I have more fun haggling with the guys.
Oh, yeah. That took some getting used to coming back, didn't it? I know it did for me. Coming back and going to a store and you were like, I want to work this person. Like it's Walmart. You can't
Yeah,
work.
no,
You
you
can't
can't work.
negotiate the price. Yeah.
Oh God, that you buy all sorts of lapis and just all sorts of weird stuff and send home.
Rust and yeah, all that stuff. So let's talk about some of those stories. So when you think back, we'll start with Iraq. When you think back at that time there, is there anything that stands out, any event or story or something that, either was sentimental, it meant something to you, or just something you want to share with our viewers and listeners that, probably something they've never even heard that you think is pretty impactful?
Um, people imagine when you were in Iraq, they have visions of the first invasion, and living in foxholes
Right.
and things like that. I lived in a bathroom. I lived in the control tower on this airfield, which was actually pretty cool because I had my own room, right? It was an old bathroom, had 2 bunks. I found a machine gun under one of the bunks. It was a RPK machine gun. So anybody who came up there, we had converted the top of the control tower into a cigar bar called the Bada Bing, and we had the big Bada Bing mud flap girl painted on the wall, and everyone show up and we give them big belts of ammunition, and they'd hold the RPK, take pictures, and we smoked cigars, and lots of cigars got sent. Um, it's funny because when you go to war, sometimes garrison breaks out, as they talk about. Good sergeant major, not like yourself, would probably. There were a couple of them over there that would bitch at you because Iraq gets cold in the wintertime. It
Right.
gets damn cold. And the Marine Corps issues this little fleece beanie thing, and Marines are wearing them, and you got the sergeant major running around telling them they can't wear it and they got to wear their garrison covers and stuff. It's just, stupid. In Afghanistan, the big thing was the Army. I was a guest with the Army, so one of 8 Marines with the 82nd Airborne. And when I walked around, I had to have a damn PT belt on because that was the base rules.
Were you
And
at
I'm
Bob?
like, no, I was at Camp Eggers.
Oh, that's right. You were at Eggers. Yeah, yeah. Still same thing.
Yeah.
Bob at Central. Yeah.
Yeah. You became a fobbit, so you're walking around with a damn PT belt on. I had some gal from the 82nd or 101st. I can't remember. They did the Riptoa. I think it was 101st. And she goes, because I had a 9mm in a holster here, and she happened to be standing behind me in the chow hall, and she goes, "Hey, sir, you got to get a new holster. You got to get a leg holster." And I go, Why is that? She goes, because you're flagging me with your weapon. I go, well, last time I checked, to get onto the base, I had to clear my damn weapon. So it may be flagging you, but it's empty. She goes, well, sir, I don't appreciate that. And you're flagging me with the weapon. And I go, well, tough, because that's my issued holster I'm wearing. And then we're sitting in a meeting one day, and I looked at her and I go, hey, I was a lieutenant colonel. I said, hey, Major, do me a favor. I need you to get another holster for your weapon. What are you talking about? Because she's sitting directly across from me. And I go, because you're flagging me with your weapon. You know, you can blow my balls off right now.
Yeah, because
She's sitting across from me, and her little leg holster that she had, really high speed leg holsters, pointing right at me. And she was like, touche, sir. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yep.
No, but I think back a funny, I try to look at the funny stuff, right? I remember the funnier episodes in life. The other stuff I've kind of written about on a blog called sandgram.com. I would write some stories, but I kind of not think about because our hospital was right there. So that was a really bad time in 05. We lost, I don't know, 1 to 3 guys every few days from IEDs off of MSR, Michigan right there.
Right.
So I look at the funnier things, right? And we had this idiot. I say that lovingly because I'm still in contact with this Marine. And we called him Leghound because he was like the colonel's dog named Leghound. He would hump your leg, you would kick him, and that dumbass would come back and hump your leg again, and we just started calling him Leghound. I don't know how that came about, but Leghound somehow got together with the Lance Corporal Mafia, and they figured out how to bypass the filters. They had filters like you couldn't visit certain sites or on the internet, right? Somehow that idiot had bypassed all the filters and was able to download 800 pictures of porno onto his government computer. The bad thing was I had a bunch of buddies who were doctors, and they had a female doctor who they were afraid was going to launch an investigation on him for pornography because, part of General Orders number 1, you couldn't have any porno. And they showed up because I'm one of the few guys in the entire base, the general, the chief of staff, the sergeant major, and moi, and the person below me living in a bathroom. We're the only people that had our own rooms. Everybody else lived in a big tent or a bee hut or whatever. So they showed up with this big box of porno, and they go, Taco, the doc, they used to smoke cigars with us, and he goes, hey man, I need you to hold on to this for about a week, let the stink blow over, and then we'll come back and get it. I'm like, okay, fine. Well, I open it up in my room with the doc sitting there. I'm like, you guys are a bunch of sick fucks, man. I hope I can say that.
You can say that. Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are a bunch of sick dudes. I'm looking at some of their Italian porno they've got. It's pretty graphic. and I'm like, all right, fine. And I box it up and I stuff it in the corner and I put a poncho liner over this box. About 2 days later, I get a knock at the door, and I open up my door to my bedroom, and there's the 2 NCIS agents standing there. And the guy goes, Major Bell? And I go, yeah. Sir, can we come in and talk to you? I go, well, let's go up to my office and go talk up there. And he goes, no, sir, we need to talk to you in your room. I'm like, son of a bitch. How'd they find out about that porno, And then what's going through my mind, I'm going to get kicked out of the war for possessing this big, giant box of frigging porno that's not even mine. You know what I mean?
Printed out.
Not even mine. I've had it for 2 days.
Were they
dude?
Or printed out? Or what were they? It was a box. Like, I'm
talking. No, dude. I'm talking a cardboard box that had to have been about 2.5 feet tall, and about, it was like a big cardboard
Right.
box. It was filled with tapes and DVDs and,
Oh, DVD.
they had,
Gotcha.
they
Yeah.
had everything. They had DVDs, they had, magazines, they had all sorts of, they had a blow up doll, um, which was kind of a funny story in itself. They would blow it up and put this nurse blow up doll in people's racks at night, as a joke when you came back. And
So
so the one
yeah,
NCIS agent sits across from me. The other guy, I've got one of those camp stools hanging on the rack. He pulls that off the rack, he pops it, and he sits and he's leaning on the box full of porn. And he goes, "Sir, we need to talk to you about something pretty serious." And I go, "Oh, what's that?" He says, "It's about pornography, sir." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm going to get kicked out of the war. How do I explain this to my wife?" Right.
right.
And, and the dude's leaning against the box with his arm up against it, and he's leaning against this box of porn, and the other guy's talking. He goes, "Sir, do you have a Lance Corporal Leghound working for you?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Yeah, he's upstairs right now in the office, one floor up." He goes, "Yes, sir. That's why we didn't want to discuss this in the office. He's downloaded 800 pictures of pornography on his government computer." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, not good." And he goes, "Yeah, the problem, sir, is that one of those is child pornography." I'm like, "Oh, I remember that from that little course that we had to take. That's not good either. No, sir." I'm like, "All right, what do you need to do?" And he goes, "We need to confiscate the laptop." And I'm like, "Ah, man, we need to download everything he has on there, work wise, because if we lose that laptop, it's going to take a while to get another one." So we went upstairs and we got manual. The guys read them in his rights. They did the deal. They confiscated the computer and they took Leghound with them. I go back downstairs. I pick up the phone in my office. I call the doc at their place, and I go, "Hey, man, come get your box of fucking porn and get the friggin' hell out of my office." And he's like, "Well, man, we probably need another week or so." And I look, dude, I'm telling you right now, I just had 2 NCIS agents in my office about my Lance Corporal and pornography because that idiot downloaded 900 pictures of porn or 800. I'm telling you right now, if you're not here in the next 30 minutes, I'm hauling the 115 steps down the control tower into the back of my SUV, and I'm going to the burn pit, and I'm throwing this entire thing into the burn pit. I don't care. I am not getting busted for your crap." And he's like, "Dude, don't throw that stuff in the burn pit. We'll be there. We'll be there." And sure enough, man, 30 minutes later, they came and they picked this up, and I'm like, "Where should we take it?" And I go, "I don't care. You take it anywhere you want, but it ain't going to be in my room, man, because my guy just got busted for pornography."
And if you got
Thank you
caught
very
with it,
much.
they'd be like, "Oh, this is a command issue. This is the environment that he fosters."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I only had the crap in my room for 2 days. I'm like, "Nope, we're done. You're done." It, that that was kind of funny. I mean, when you think about you're going to go get kicked out of the war for drinking, um, if you got caught drinking, like people try to do cool stuff, send you a big thing of Listerine, and I got this bottle of Listerine from one of my Marine buddies, and I popped the top, because the top was sealed. I popped it, took a swig, and it was friggin' straight vodka. Holy crap! I mean, I'm like, oh God, you know, nervous as hell. Go dump that stuff in the porta potty. I didn't want to deal with getting kicked out as a reservist. That was my
Right,
big deal.
right. So that was probably a pretty, monumental story from Iraq. Anything from Afghanistan, completely different type of theater, probably completely different kind of experience. Um, Anything that stands out there that you were involved with or that you saw or there's you know
Afghanistan was the first time that I really interacted with the locals and with the troops, the Afghan, AMP or the ANCOP or whatever,
right,
Army guys. We went to MOI for a meeting. All the stuff going on right now with India and Pakistan. holy crap, MOI. It wasn't MO. It was like the police place at MOI.
Yep, I know what you're talking
Was
right on Embassy Row. Yeah.
it wasn't on Embassy Row. It was
Well, you had the Indian Embassy right across the street.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you know where I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So the Afghan police place was across the street from the Indian Embassy.
Yep.
And we in '08 we were in this like a gymnasium type thing, and it was a big UN thing. We're talking about USAID and all that stuff going on. But they had this big meeting going on, and the windows freaking blow out, the explosion.
Yep.
And it was they said it was a Pakistani ISI car. As the gates opened up to the embassy, they had I don't think they had double gates, but as the gates opened up and the Indian procession was about to go in, this Pakistani car full of IEDs went inside and blew up, and the explosion was just right across the street. So it blew the windows out and all the glass shrouds, pieces of glass laying on top of us, and you just feel the concussion, the explosion, and you kind of duck like this, and glass is dropping all over the place. That was crazy.
When we're done
and
with
then
this episode, I have a personal connection to that event and that story, and I'll tell you.
oh really?
Yes, to that. I know when it happened, right? And I want to say it was June of '08.
'08, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I know that's why I knew exactly what you were talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, because I couldn't. In my mind, I was sitting there going, it wasn't the MOI, because the MOI was over.
But it's where they were doing the police training and police all that.
Yeah, it was a police training place. Now,
Yeah.
like that place. All right, so I worked with a Marine colonel who was great. He was a lawyer, JAG guy, and I worked with this Air Force guy who was the biggest tool, F-15 driver, biggest suck butt. Everything in his life was about getting promoted. Yeah, that guy had his nose so far up the general's ass, it was crazy. But one day I drive with this particular Air Force colonel. I'm a lieutenant colonel, and we're driving to that meeting over there at that building. And we pull in. I go, "Hey, sir, you might want to park right here." He goes, "Or over here." And he goes, "Why would I do that?" I said, "Because when this meeting ends, you're over there. It's a little bit further walk. I know it's hot, but you'll get out of here faster because this whole place gets clogged up." And he goes, "No, there's a spot right there. I want that spot." I'm like, "All right, sir, whatever." And we've got a big up armored SUV. And you remember Austin Powers, where he's in the little go-kart and he's doing this 360 forward, back up, forward, back up. That's what this guy's doing, like this. Forward, back up. Forward,
Like a 17-point turn.
yes. Trying to get turned back out of this one-way street so they could find the spot. And as we are doing this, there's a guard shack. And out of the guard shack, this Afghan soldier comes out, and this guy's got a AK slung across his shoulders, and he's got the baggy uniform, and he reaches in his pants and he starts masturbating. And I'm going back, forward, and I'm watching this guy, and I go, "Sir, I think he's checking you out." And he's like, "Shut the fuck up, Taco." And I'm like, "No, I really think that guy's getting excited about you." And this guy is just pleasuring himself.
Broad
And I
daylight.
look at him, and he is getting so mad at me. I mean, honestly, he's getting really shut. I don't want to hear another word out of your mouth. That's an order. And he's doing this, and I'm like, he's almost at the end. Shut up. and the guy pleasures himself while he's looking directly at this colonel, which gave me endless stuff. And so when we got the car parked, this guy satisfies himself, takes his hand out and kind of does this, and then wipes his uniform, and he gives us a wave, and he goes back into his little guard shack. He looks at me and he goes, "Taco, not a word of this to anyone. I'm like, mm-hmm. We went back, and everybody's in there, like all 8 of the officers. We're back in the in PMA, and I'm like, you guys won't believe what happened to Colonel Goofus. Oh man. Oh, we never let that guy live that down. That was funny.
Yeah, that's the kind of downrange stories that, again, you'll never see on the news or ever hear about. But people that have been there would be like, I get it. Yeah. I mean,
Oh, dude, I was in Jalalabad. I was out in the middle of nowhere, and we're at, a little Fort Apache of the Bronx.
yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah, J-Bad is 2-hour drive from J-Bad. We had 2 Hawaiian National Guard dudes, unit, Hummers. One had a 50, one had a Mark 19, and then we had 2 pickup trucks, and those guys were escorting us on what they called a road out to the place. And I wanted to go talk to the police chief at night, and the guys had sectioned off like a part of that fort for the Americans, and the Afghans were in the 3/4 other part of it. Big Hescos built up, so it was like a Fort Apache of the Bronx. And I go around, I see the guy, and as I walk around to go talk to this guy, he's sitting there smoking a cigarette, and he's just kind of standing there and he's looking up. And as I come around the Hescos, there's some Afghan private on his knees taking care of this dude. And I stopped. And the dude's, he's just sitting there smoking a cigarette, and he hadn't seen me. I'm like, I'll leave and go back. And they talk about Man Love Thursday, and nobody understands Man Love Thursday. You're not gay. It's not.
Yeah, it's bachabazi, right? It's
Yeah.
They used to say all the time over there, right? Women are for babies, boys are for fun.
Yeah, men are for fun. So if you read The Arab Mind, which was required reading before we left, we had to read this big thick book called The Arab Mind. It gives you a little bit of insight, and it goes, okay, fine. If you look at it this way, the culture, women cannot have premarital sex, right? So you get a young kid, say he's 13, 14, 15, and then you have a next door neighbor kid who's 16, 17. He starts raping this guy.
Yeah.
Because he can't have premarital sex with a girl that he has a crush on. So that's kind of accepted, right? And then when that kid grows up to be 17, 18, he does the same thing to the neighbor's kid. Starts having sex with the neighbor's kid. Because of that. And then when you get told, hey, if I kill myself, I get 72 virgins. Well, Muhammad doesn't know what it's like to even be with a virgin. So the idea of getting buggered by Muhammad, I'd much rather blow myself up than, get buggered by that guy.
Right.
So if you understand that mindset, and if that makes sense, then you start to understand where they eventually do get married, but they still have these liaisons with the guys.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird cultural thing that is all Islam. It happened in Iraq. It happened in Afghanistan. In Iraq, I was going to a poker game one night, and the guy that I was driving with, he was another major, bald-headed dude, prior enlisted guy, friggin', if you imagine R. Lee Ermey, drill instructor, that's what this guy, when he played poker, his veins would pop in his head when he had a bad hand. I mean, it was a great, playing against this guy.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to this game, and he goes, "Hey Taco, I need you," because I was driving. He goes, "Hey, I need you to pull in the jingle lot because the jingle trucks would come in through security, and once they got vetted through security, they would go to a enclosed giant ass lot. And they'd park their jingle trucks, and then they'd all meet, and they would have their little camp stoves, and they would cook their tea and do whatever." He had to pay these guys. It was $100 $100 bill per guy for the trip from Baghdad to TQ. And we walked in, and he's got a list of everybody, and he's handing out the money. He goes, "Okay, where's Muhammad?" And they're like, "He's not here." And all of a sudden, you could tell that we'll call him Jay. Jay was getting very anxious. What do you mean he's not here? He's not here. And all he could think of is this dude's a friggin' sapper, and he's out in the wire somewhere in the base. He goes, "Where the fuck is where is he?" And they're like, "He's in his truck. Show me which truck he's in." And so I go out with Jay and this other driver, and then we go out, and he points to a jingle truck. He in that truck. So we walk up to the truck, and he opens the door up, and there's this dude having sex with like a 14, 15-year-old boy. And he rolls over, and he's, got his little man dress up. And Jay's like, "Get out of the truck." And so you go, "Hold on a sec." And he puts his slippers on, sandals, and he pops out of the truck, and he's got his man dress on with a pup tent at the bottom. And it was, "Here's your money. Get back in there. You need to get back in there. And who's this guy?" And he goes into the whole thing. So once again, we go to the game. We're driving. He's really mad. He's angry. And he goes, "Taco, not a word of this to anybody." I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And we're sitting there, and I had a really good hand. I go, "You guys won't believe what I saw tonight, man." Oh my God, he got so mad.
Veins were popping out of his head.
Veins were popping out of his head. Yeah, I knew he had a bad hand. But yeah, that shit was rampant. It's a cultural thing. So if you guys think I'm bullshitting you, go look up Man Love Thursday. And
we've talked about it a lot on this and many.
Unfortunately,
yeah, it is definitely a real thing. A few episodes ago, a good friend of mine I was deployed with on here, and he was on an episode of Lima Charlie, and we were deployed together, and he told a story. I wanted him to tell it. He did about, they did a MedCap mission, and the guy didn't understand why his wife wasn't getting pregnant. And the docs checked her, and they had a female doctor, and she was still a virgin. He was off by a couple inches. He did not know. He told us when we were over there, and that's why I knew I wanted him to tell that story. He left there happy as can be. He came depressed and sad because he couldn't have, as it's all about having children. That's
right.
Almost a status symbol, especially boys. And his wife would not get pregnant. He was missing by a little bit. He didn't know any different. So he was really out that it was a simple correction that all he had to make, and could probably start having children. So
it's somewhere I have a video, night vision video. I don't know if you've seen this, where the guy's having sex with the cow, and the woman's doing laundry behind him and all that.
I don't have that one, but I have Jalen's video from where I was IR, where they were with two guys were with a donkey. I've got a couple of those.
You know what? Maybe it was a donkey. The woman's doing laundry behind him.
No, it was one guy was holding the head, the other one guy was in the back. Swap. It was But we caught him on our own base. We caught him on our own base with dogs and stuff. It's just that's who we were there to save. So it is what it is. But
I tell you, Iraq. You're talking about dogs. God, I haven't thought about this in years. I was smoking a cigar with a buddy of mine, and we were looking over Habanilla, and he was 8th Engineers, and he had a really cool place out there, and he had this parapet where you could look down MSR Michigan with the highway. It was next to the base, and we were over there and you're smoking cigars, and you had to bend down to take a hit off of it because of the glow. You don't want to be, because there was a sniper over there that would shoot at you. So you're bending down, taking a drag off the cigar, and it was just one of those nice nights, and you're just sitting there talking about things going on and whatnot. And we see a set of headlights driving down the highway. And he goes, "That's kind of strange. You don't see guys driving at night on the road." And it's a van, and it's driving. And all of a sudden, this damn van blows up. And it goes off, just kind of drifts off the side of the road. and this dude jumps out of the driver's seat or the driver's side, and he's covered in flames. He's on fire. He goes maybe 5 feet and just drops. And the van explodes, secondaries, and all sorts of stuff. So it was an IED van, and something happened in the back. Well, the van is on fire and it's burning. And Rob goes, "Hey, man, I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna run back to the hooch, go get some nods." So he goes back and gets his nods, and as the fire dies down, and we're sitting here looking through the nods. When you look in the perimeter of that van, you see a pack of dogs start circling. And then the dogs go up and they start eating the dude, and they're pulling his body apart. And I mean, this pack of about maybe 10 dogs.
Yeah, they're wild dogs. They're starving.
Oh, they devoured this guy. And we sat there smoking cigars, watching this guy get devoured by dogs. I didn't pet any stray dogs over in Iraq, put it that way. That was a bizarre incident.
Yeah, that's one right there. That's definitely a unique one. But hey, man, we've been running for a while, a little over an hour. I don't want to keep you up all night. But
I do it. I do it with you any day, dude. We go back way back. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go see Susan Keating tomorrow.
Oh, good. That's
yeah. Susan has a 50th anniversary of Soldier of Fortune magazine.
Yep. Yeah, she's doing great stuff over there.
Yeah,
chat with her once in a while online, but haven't seen her in forever in a minute, probably since the last blogging conference or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, my wife and her talk a lot too. We both talk with her quite a bit, but make sure you tell her hi from us.
I really will. Yeah.
But hey, thank you so much for giving us some of your night. It's a great Taco Tuesday, and good to have the guy who helped us put that opening video together here on the show. Every episode of this, which has been great. I mean, it's so many different perspectives. We've had weathermen, we've had C-130 pilots, we've had infantrymen, we have inspector generals. I mean, it's just all these different perspectives, because it's not always ground pounders and door kickers.
Yeah,
that were over there and just seeing these different things. So again, man, thank you so much, and really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure, man. It was, I appreciate you letting me come on and spew madness.
Yeah.
I apologize to all your fans out there for my vulgar language. I slip into Marinese sometimes, and
most of our fans are associated with the military, so it's probably nothing they haven't heard. But it's you play big boy games, you talk like a big boy, so that's okay.
I drop the F-bomb, we start getting into the old days.
Yeah.
But I apologize. Anyway, it was awesome, man.
That's it. All right, man. Well, take it easy. Have a good night, Taco. Appreciate it, buddy.
You bet. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Hoorah.